All right. You got to wing your intro?
Yeah, I can make one up here as I go.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate, oh yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week we're talking about Star Wars Day 2020.
That's right.
It was May the 4th be with you. That was Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Disney Plus is apparently adding some more shows or movies later down the road, apparently.
Better now than later.
In other news, water, wet, you know. Also, that brings us up to the next point. Will straight to streaming cause issues with movie contracts? And more.
Yeah, I feel very chill right now, Chris, because just before we got on the podcast, Chris was showing me office chairs, and it was an Iron Man themed gaming chair, and you informed me that it laid all the way flat. So now I'm just thinking about what would it be like to record this podcast if I was just laying totally flat down, and I don't even understand how the physics of that chair works, because it seems like you would just like fall directly backwards if you were laying at a 90-degree angle on a, or I guess technically a 0-degree angle, right, on an office chair?
Yeah, 0 or 180. I guess.
However you want to do it.
Yeah, your body distribution. I mean, you'd have to have like weighted shoes on or something, so your head doesn't just tip it straight back.
Yeah, well, that's the added feature. You have to buy the Iron Man weighted boots that keep you from falling over. You have this very strange Iron Man Marvel experience in your office chair. I don't recommend it. But I'm feeling very chill right now. It's also Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, the bonus moms, the stepmoms, the chosen moms. I hope you all are having a great Mother's Day. Called my mom earlier today. Had a fun conversation with her. I'm so glad I got my sense of humor from her because she lets me know that she's pretty much the only one in the office that's like funny. They like consider her like the kind of the class clown, which I think is just hilarious because I never picture my mother as being like the goofball or the class clown, but she's a county clerk in a court office, so a lot of judges now are like telecommuting. They're like doing their sentencing and court hearings like over Skype. So my mom will like nudge her coworkers and be like, "Oh, do you think the judge is wearing any pants?" Since you can't see his lower half on this Skype call. So shout out to my hilarious mother out there who is cracking jokes at the office and will be retiring soon. I'll have a retired mother here in just, I think she said 7 weeks. She is counting down the days, so she'll be retired along with my father, and they'll just be living it up. They're living the dream of never having to go to work again. So shout out to moms.
Wow, that's a big milestone, you know. It like changes your whole life, because like when you're born, like, yeah, you need to go get a job, and then what happens when you're out of a job, like on your own choosing, you're like, well, what do I do now?
Well, we have the added benefit, Chris, of I'm positive this podcast will still be around when we're in our late 60s, and we'll just keep this going. We'll just podcast every day. Okay, we'll officially declare that Superhero Slate will become a daily podcast in... What are you thinking, like 30, 40 years? Should we
I'm
pick
not
a specific date?
On that. You know,
want to leave it open?
I don't know what's going to happen next week, let alone in a year plus.
Tempting the fates here.
Yeah. So we're just gonna keep rolling with it until, you know, the internet breaks or something, and we have to, you know, something forces us to stop that's out of our control, Mike. So we'll just keep on trucking. But it's funny because you mentioned that, you know, we do this every week. We get on here and talk, but we've also more so lately been playing video games together. And talking that, and it's like it's weird because you like we've always texted, you know, for us, and then now we're playing video games talking. It's just like a normal kind of thing. I'm like, oh, it's. I think your wife asks you who are you talking to. You're like, well, it's Chris.
It's usually Chris. We have so many lines of communication, but this is the only one that we record.
Yeah.
Unless you're watching friend of the show Quentin Parker's Twitch stream, which I technically think our voices are being recorded or at least aired on that Twitch stream. And as soon as he starts seeing a single dime, I want a cut of that because we got premium voices. People search the internet for our voices, Chris, and we got to make sure our voices are properly monetized out there, right?
No, I don't care. He can keep his dimes that he's going to get off of streaming us playing Call of Duty, not very professionally at that.
Hey,
so.
we narrowly got third place the other day. I think if we could have flipped a coin, got a little bit more luck, we could have eked out first place in that battle royale match. But that was fun. That was a fun final circle.
I guess that's the thing. We have fun with it, and that's what matters. There are too many people who take it too seriously, but we have a good time. There's a clip out there that he cut, Quentin cut, of him running around in a circle avoiding a helicopter while yelling at Mike to shoot at the helicopter. But Mike couldn't see the helicopter, so
I had no line of sight. It's great.
It was, and I'm just caught in the middle, like just right. I'm shooting the helicopter and trying to pick up Mike in another helicopter. I'm doing both here.
It's a great time. This is another opportunity to say it's a free game. Just go download Warzone. You're gonna need lots of hours. It's a big old file. You're gonna have to do a lot of downloading. Then there'll be a lot of hours of figuring out what you're even doing. But it's a fun sandbox map. This is getting in the weeds, so I guess this is a brief Warzone talk, but I saw that you were sharing a link the other day from the subreddit for Warzone, and I saw one the other day from there where people over near the dam could hear the sound of like screaming or like wolves howling near the edges of the map, which seems to be like, I don't know if it's like an Easter egg or if it's like a hint of things to come, but it's crazy kind of some of the stuff you can unearth from this giant map that they've put in this game. So I love the mystery kind of Easter egg aspect of really anything, to be honest.
Well, the thing I always hear the most is like, well, there's a new map coming. I'm like, no, there's not. There's still so many secrets on this one we haven't uncovered. Why would they create a new one and put it out there when this one still has things to be unturned or
they gotta flex the map a little bit more. They gotta do a little bit more with it before they chuck it out.
Yeah, they can change. I mean, they haven't really changed any POIs, but changing modes, and they added a game type where you're like, if you survive a bounty, your teammate comes back in. I think that lasted like 2 days before they swapped it back over. There's stuff they can do to balance it out and then have fun with it rather than create a whole new map. Because can you imagine the work that goes into that? Because you gotta think every point on that map has to have a check and balance to make sure that it isn't overpowered, but also isn't completely useless as well. So I imagine I have fun on this one, but I still expect there to be more secrets as we keep playing.
Yeah, I keep playing this big kind of like sandbox free game, and I'm just waiting for a big IP that we really like that we talk about to kind of pull it off. We briefly mentioned maybe Star Wars could possibly do it. I don't know if maybe Marvel or Disney would ever get their stuff together enough to work on a game that would kind of preserve out there that long. But I'd love to maybe see some sort of like Marvel universe like this. That'd be kind of cool.
Well, Fortnite had the Marvel one when Endgame came, or Infinity War came out, and it was really, really fun. And I think Marvel has the ability, they could license their stuff into other games.
Yeah, it's just easier for them right now to license until they own or really get a game studio of their own up and running.
Yeah, exactly. And the same with Star Wars. Their focus is on the media and the content, not the gaming. But I could see someone being like, again, Battlefront is a huge number one. Where you have all the clones and like characters who are like within like that level of clones. You could be like, oh, I have a customized character that's a stormtrooper or one that's a rebel. And that's what you play as. But I think Marvel just lacks that kind of faceless bodies that you can just keep throwing into the thing without having like power ups, Because if you're gonna play, you want to play Thor. Thor needs Thor powers in this map. So how do you make that work? But I'm looking forward to the Avengers game down the road. But that's neither here nor there. But Mike, other than that, I'm just gonna say I haven't watched a whole lot of media this week because. I've been working again on the house. I did more pressure washing, knocked out the entire driveway this time. No more.
You've been a busy adult.
Yes, exactly. But Rick and Morty is back. The second half of season 5 started last week, and that was a good time. And then Westworld season 3 wrapped up. So if you've been waiting for all those to wrap up, there's 8 episodes. You can watch them all now on HBO Now. Which if you go ahead and sign up for HBO Max, it's $11.99 price point. You get access to HBO Now for that price for the rest of the month. So sign up for that. That's pretty cool. But you've been watching some other stuff and streaming things in your Mike's Quarren Stream Corner. Tell me what you've been watching.
Yeah, I got a couple little pullouts here to talk about here. You were just talking about Rick and Morty, created by Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon. So the head writer from Rick and Morty, which I honestly forgot the guy's name, sorry, but along with Justin Roiland, came out with a new animated show called Solar Opposites, where all 8 episodes just landed on Hulu last week. I checked out the first episode. No spoilers or anything. I know you haven't caught up to it yet, but it very much feels like you're in the Rick and Morty universe still. I don't think there's been any definite concrete yeses or nos whether or not they'll ever cross over. I don't think they really care. I think they're just trying to make something funny, and if anything ever happens organically, they'll probably do it. But it was pretty funny to see these aliens just mucking about, so I would recommend it.
It strikes me as a Family Guy, American Dad scenario where, like, at the start they were so close, could they be in the same universe? But then they did the crossover, like, obviously we're not in the same universe, but we know we're the same voice actors, so here's some fun. And I could totally see them doing that in these shows.
Yeah, if anybody is familiar with Rick and Morty, or even Solar Opposites, if you've watched it, very satirical style of comedy where, most of the time rules don't apply. So I wouldn't try to find a lot of logic or any hard rules in any of these universes.
I will tell you, if you want to talk about canon and hard fast rules, this newest Rick and Morty will play that up wholeheartedly. It's meta to a new level. But
Great.
Before I forget, I actually played Justin Roiland's VR game Trover Saves the Universe this week. I finally got to dive into that for a while because if anyone knows, some VR where you sit still and it comes at you does not make me as motion sick, but in this one you play as a person who I forget the name, but you're a species who just sits in a chair for your whole life, and that's what you do. But you have to rotate the chair in like 90-degree angles or 45-degree angles to look around, and I got real uneasy after like 2 levels. I'm like, I'm gonna take a break. But
it's like a big puzzle game, right?
Yeah, you control. You're in your chair, but you control remotely this character named Trover, who has these things he can put into his eye holes, and they give him new powers. Like, I got one that's like a double jump, like later. So so you kind of remotely control this Trover character. But it is true. I mean, if you've heard Solar Opposites or Rick and Morty, Justin Roiland's voice is in every one of these characters, and so you hear Rick, you hear Morty, you hear. There's a way to. They ask you, do you want to play on the uncensored mode, which I recommend highly because it is off the chain. But yeah, anyway, a lot of Justin Roiland this week for us, Mike.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he's a man of our generation and of our demographics, I would say. Yeah. I would think a lot of people that listen to this podcast would also enjoy anything that they're working on over there. Also, just kind of like a side note, since we did bring up Dan Harmon just briefly, the co-creator of Rick and Morty, the Community television show is reuniting for a table read of one of their classic episodes that will be airing tomorrow, aka Monday, on Sony's YouTube channel. I don't know which YouTube channel it is. I'm sure the Sony Corporation has many verified YouTube channels. So one of them will be airing the table read, which is pretty impressive because they're getting Donald Glover back, who is a gigantic, multi-talented star. So he's coming back to return to do a table read. I believe any sort of money that they raise is going to like some sort of charity, which seems to be the gimmick for a lot of these reunions of these shows during the quarantine. And also, I guess all of the crew stuck around on this supposed Zoom call, and it was the after kind of party was recorded for Joel McHale and Dr. Chang or Senor Chang. I don't remember the actor's name, but they have a podcast together, and they're putting that up there on their podcast. So a lot of Dan Harmon Community stuff you can check out too. So that wraps up the Solar Opposites portion of the Corn Stream. So we'll roll right into Middleditch and Swartz, which is an improvised comedy show that has a couple episodes up on Netflix, and we just kind of watched it on a whim the other day in our household, and it was shockingly funny. You would think something that's unprepared, where they just kind of get some suggestions and stories from the audience, might have some moments where you're just kind of like waiting for something funny to happen, waiting for things to roll in, but these two guys are really, really funny. And also, now that I'm mentioning it, there's some crossover there too, because Thomas Middleditch is the voice of one of the aliens on Solar Opposites. I totally just forgot that. And also, Ben Schwartz was on Parks and Rec that also the other week did a reunion, kind of video Zoom style. So man, there's a lot of crossover there. So I would recommend Middleditch and Schwartz. I've only seen the first episode of both of those two things, but I would recommend them just off of those. And lastly, Chris, you have to tell me if I've brought this up on the show before or if you're familiar of it. Have you ever heard of the Joe Schmo Show, which aired back in 2003? Does this strike any resemblance to you?
No, simply because I keep thinking of the Schmoes Know or whatever the
YouTube channel.
Yeah,
thing?
the YouTube channel. And I'm like, I can't get beyond this. That's sticking in my head right now.
All right. Well, I'm gonna blow a couple people's minds here if they've never heard of the Joe Schmo Show. So the Joe Schmo Show back in 2003 came off of the heels of the popularity of Survivor. This was back when competition reality shows were the new thing. Every network wanted one. It was crazy. Everybody was doing all these different gimmicks of them. So the Joe Schmo Show was the first time, I believe, that they ever made a reality show where all of the contestants, except for one of them, were paid actors. So this whole show was all about manufacturing these scenarios for this one guy that thought he was really on a competition reality show, but what he didn't know is he was being Truman Showed for 8 episodes. And I kept telling my wife about this on and off for the past couple months. I was like, have you never heard of the Joe Schmo Show? Do you know anything about this? She's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. It sounds like a totally fake show. So I opened up our favorite app, the Just Watch app, to see if it's streaming anywhere, and it wasn't. But, I kind of got a feeling of this is kind of a niche show. Not a lot of people know about it, so I bet there's a chance that it's old enough and slightly obscure enough that it just is on YouTube. And lo and behold, it is. So if you just search Season 1 of the Joe Schmo Show, it is on YouTube. You can go watch it right now. And I just want to say the biggest shock of this is that I remember watching this. I watched the first season in its entirety back in the early 2000s when it came out, but I forgot who the paid actors were to be in the show, and I was shocked when I went and showed my wife the first episode the other day that 2 of the paid actors on this show are very recognizable now. The first one is, if anybody out there is a fan of Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Rickety Cricket, the actor who plays Cricket, is one of the paid contestants for the Joe Schmo Show. So that was really fun to see Cricket on there. But secondly, in her very first kind of breakout role, I think she even describes it in the Joe Schmo Show as her first really paid gig ever, is Kristen Wiig, who is a gigantic star now, should be on the screen currently right now in Wonder Woman 2, 1984, if there wasn't a quarantine right now. But it was crazy to see her playing like this relationship doctor, Dr. Pat, on the show. So I just have to say it's a crazy experiment. They edit the show in a really clever way where they still edit it like a reality show, but then every once in a while they'll cut away to the behind the scenes because all of these people are worried about blowing it. This is supposed to be something that they film and they turn into a whole season of a TV show, so they're really not trying to blow it. They don't want this guy to know that he's actually in a fake reality show, so it's really, really funny. If anybody else is familiar with like kind of Los Angeles radio or even Kevin Smith's podcast friends, Ralph Garman plays the quote unquote like judge / host of this fake reality show, which is called The Lap of Luxury. So I just really have to recommend it. It's so weird, bizarre, and hilarious. So go check out the Joe Schmo Show. It's on YouTube right now. Just somebody uploaded it. It's in that classic 4:3 aspect ratio. You're getting all the great satirical hits of kind of early 2000s reality show in it. So yeah, go check out the Joe Schmo Show. I won't spoil anything, but I do very vividly remember the last episode where kind of everything is revealed to the guy, and it's an amazing moment. It's worthwhile to at the very least watch the first episode and then at least watch the last episode. So there you go, Mike's Stream Corner wrapped up.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead. I just did a quick wiki on this, Mike. I'm gonna drop another set of bomb. How this relates to us?
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
It is created by Paul Wernick and Rhett Reese, who did Deadpool.
Oh,
the movie Deadpool and Zombieland.
Hey, I mean, those are some smart guys. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, and it was 3 seasons of this show.
Yeah, they did a follow-up season that I was unaware of because this was back in the day before I think anybody was tracking television shows.
Well, it was
on the internet.
It was on Spike TV, so I forgive you for not being tuned into Spike.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance that one year you could have Spike TV on your cable plan, and then the next year it wasn't there anymore. And then I saw that they brought it back like in 2014 or something. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if like Netflix tried to make a show like this in the future because they're really kind of kicking their reality shows into gear right now. So yeah, go check out the Joe Schmo Show. It's this crazy experiment. I have no idea if it lives well beyond its first season, but the guy that they cast for the first season is just perfect. Like they couldn't have put a better stooge in that spot to just kind of soak up all this fake reality show. It's just great. Yeah, I never get the opportunity to talk about reality television on our podcast, but in the quarantine stream corner, anything goes.
Is this even reality? Is this considered reality?
Well, when Andy was watching the first episode, she's like, "Is this real? Are you punking me right now? Are we actually watching a real thing?" I was like, "Oh, we're watching a real thing. There is 8 more episodes."
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean that would fit right in that. But that's cool. Yeah. So
go check it out.
In quarantine, anything goes, Mike. I watched The Great Muppet Caper this week as well while I was going to bed. Do you remember The Great Muppet Caper?
I think I remember a little bit of it.
It sounds like you don't remember any. That's fine. I'll hold it to you. It's the second Muppet movie where they go to London, and there's an extended John Cleese cameo in this as well. On that one as well.
I like John Cleese. Yeah. I like me some John Cleese.
He's very tame, which is interesting. But anyway, speaking of things to stream, Mike, this is going to lead right into a great topic here. Our first one, The Mandalorian. Of course. You're asking, Chris, why would you watch The Mandalorian? It came out last winter. But the documentary series they promised us for Star Wars Day came out on Monday, and then the second episode came out on Friday, so they'll be coming out every Friday. And I believe there's 8 episodes, and they don't follow. I've watched them both, Mike. No spoilers here. Mm-hmm. They do not follow the episodes. So they talk about the series as a whole. The first one focuses on the directors.
Gotcha.
The second one focuses on the legacy and like the producers and like, you know, Star Wars as a whole, and how it's affected. Because they bring in like the second one, they bring in some people like the visual effects artists for the first Star Wars movies. Like one of those guys is from there, and the other one's from the prequel series. They don't really touch on the new 3 movies. I'll tell you that right now. They do prequels and originals, and I will tell you right now, Dave Filoni, the creator, or not the creator, but the person who was in charge of the Clone Wars TV show and Rebels, he also directed some of this, should literally be Star Wars as Kevin Feige.
Yeah, you shot a message to the group chat earlier this week, and you're just like, David Filoni, he's the future of Star Wars. And I was like, all right, I think I'll be hearing more about this on Sunday then.
Yeah, you will. It's like he understands the characters. He breaks down points in this about Star Wars, even the prequels, the whole trilogy, that you would never think of, and he understands the characters more, or not more, just as much as George Lucas would understand his characters, because even though he may not be a great dialogue writer, he at least understood his characters and their motivations behind everything. He was a world builder and knew his characters. So I think Dave Filoni, I think we're going to see a lot of good things come out of him, and I would say put him in charge of all your Star Wars movies.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I mean, he's literally probably one of the few people in the Star Wars universe that has the most face time, just like mileage, like hours, like, you know, what do they say? It takes like 10,000 hours to become an expert at something. Like, name another person besides maybe George Lucas who has spent as much time with Star Wars in a professional setting as Dave Filoni, because he's been with the Clone Wars, like running seasons, so many episodes. He's just been in the trenches. So yeah, I think he's a great pick.
Yeah.
One thing that I didn't realize was when you look at kind of like the branding for this documentary, I believe it's called like The Gallery.
Yeah.
It's like Disney's The Gallery, and then it says like The Mandalorian. So maybe they're setting up some sort of thing where maybe we'll even be getting like behind the scenes documentaries for the Marvel shows that come out here hopefully soon.
Yeah. Well, we always talked about, you know, what Netflix only gives you the movies, right? Disney Plus needed a differentiating factor, and they can give us literally the bonus scenes on the DVD content, behind the scenes features. They can set this up. They're setting this up as this whole show, like not even just like a single episode you go and watch. You just go watch, like they're gonna do 8 episodes. And I'll tell you, I'll be tuning in every week to watch these. They are that good quality of stuff. But also, I forgot to even put this in here. The Clone Wars wrapped up on Monday, so we're completely done with that show. And I will tell you, out of the last season, there are 3 main story arcs. The last one is unlike anything I've ever seen and experienced, and I cannot wait for other people. I know a lot of people watch it. I'm not going to tell you anything, Mike, but I can't wait for you to get there one day eventually.
Ooh, that's great. I just love the way that you're talking about it, because it really makes me excited, because I'm still working my way through the meat of the original series. So I really feel like I'm hitting a curve here where the kind of the maturity and the sophistication of the story is only going to increase where I'm at right now, which is good, because even for like a teen swim, like a slightly below adult swim maturity of a show is still doing some pretty intense stuff. It sounds like it ramps up even more, so I'm really excited.
Yeah. The final 4 will be talked about for a very long time, so I'm excited for you to get there and experience that. Also this week, Peyton Reed, director of the Ant-Man movies, and Robert Rodriguez, a famous director, are confirmed to be involved in season 2 of The Mandalorian, maybe as guest directors. Because the first season had several. I think every director was a guest director.
Yeah, I think the Peyton Reed side of it is maybe all but confirmed.
Yeah.
I think he put up a picture of like his a director's chair that said like Mandalorian on it or something like that. So I think that's a strong indication.
And I hope he's doing, these directors are doing whole episodes, not just like scenes. The guest directors, because I think Robert Rodriguez was a guest director on Sin City or something like that, or he had Quentin Tarantino guest direct on that thing or whatever. I want to see a full episode of these people. So.
Yeah, I think they would want to too. Like any director in town who is of a certain age grew up with Star Wars, and I can't see why they'd be like, no, I only want to do a little bit of it. I just want the credit. Just give me the paycheck. Like, no, they want to direct a whole thing of Star Wars. That's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And you want to have them, like, if you're combining all these snippets that may not tell a cohesive story across that. So. Very excited for that. And are you familiar with the character Sabine Wren from the show Rebels?
No, but visually I know what they look like because I just Googled them.
She's got the purple hair and she's a Mandalorian. So like she has ties to the Clone Wars, and then also in the Mandalorian, the Darksaber. It appears in Rebels, and she has that at some point. So I think it's rumored that she will appear in the Mandalorian, probably aside Ahsoka and another character or two here.
Seems like, I mean, unless the character story in Rebels explains it a little bit, it looks like the character design maybe fell down the female design trap of this Mandalorian doesn't really have that much armor on her compared to kind of some of the female Mandalorians that we saw in season 1 who were decked out in armor. So hopefully maybe they make some changes to this costume.
Well, I don't think they will. She's not technically a full-blooded Mandalorian like the Mandalorian clan.
Oh, she just dabbles in it?
Well, she's from that world, but like you said, the true Mandalorians don't take their armors off. You pretty much only see her face exclusively in the cartoon. So
okay.
I think she's more of a rebel fighter who may be from the planet Mandalore, and has some of that in there. So I haven't finished Rebels. There's 4 seasons. I haven't finished it, but I think she is her last known. She was with Ahsoka looking for a character after the end of Return of the Jedi. So she's definitely around in this timeline. She fits this universe. I think, this may be an episode where we get Ahsoka and Sabine Wren rather than multiple episodes. Kind of like that one episode we had with the Bounty Hunters with Bill Burr and Clancy Brown and so on and so forth. I think we're gonna get one episode and not extended appearances of these characters throughout the season. Which brings me to probably the biggest news this week that I think just blew people's minds. Actor Temuera Morrison, who played Jango Fett in the Clone Wars and all the clones, literally in Attack of the Clones and Origin of the Sith, will return to the screen and play Boba Fett in The Mandalorian.
Man, I mean, next to Han Solo, Boba Fett's got to be one of the most popular characters, I would say, in all of Star Wars lore, which I think is really indicative of how strong just like the cool fucking armor is. I mean, pardon my French there, but the armor is so cool. Every little kid who watched Boba Fett in the original trilogy was just like, that character is so cool. I gotta own the action figure. I gotta own every piece of memorabilia around this character. So mysterious under that helmet. They have a freaking jetpack. That's probably where my love of jetpacks started, was just seeing Boba Fett fly around on it. So it makes sense that, you know, you bring this character back. And I'm sure there's somebody out there who knows all of the thrown out canon from the books that don't exist anymore. But I feel like has his kind of emergence or escape from the Sarlacc pit been explained in any way?
Multiple times.
Because I feel like it's gotta be at some aspect. So I could only assume that there's a way for him to get out of it.
In episode 5, I think they are on Tatooine, right? Well, when they fight Ming-Na Wen, who was the other assassin.
Yes.
Which is where Boba Fett's supposed to be. You know, he could tie into this, you know, as a bounty hunter sent after a Mandalorian bounty hunter sent after a Mandalorian.
Well, what's the strongest theory right now? That the character that was kind of hovering over that assassin at the end of the episode might be Boba Fett.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it makes sense if he's still on that planet. But I would love to maybe, I mean, I guess I don't have to literally see the escape from the Sarlacc pit, but maybe some sort of explanation or some sort of wink or nod to just, I don't go near that part of the planet anymore or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Some sort of wink and nod to it would be nice.
Exactly. And you know, if he is, I mean, they brought back Darth Maul after literally cutting him in half in front of us. So, and they did it really well. Are you to the part in Clone Wars where he's returned yet? I believe you are. No.
The part where they're like his cousins or whatever, like the magical, the magical witches that kind of brainwash one of the what are they called? What's his race called? I don't even know. The horny people.
Yeah. They're playing this Dathomir, and they're the men. Sabrak, I believe.
Sure, I don't know. You're throwing out what's a Savage Opress? Is that his name?
Savage Opress is the character's name. Yeah, I think they're Sabrak people, but
I'm in that zone right now.
Yeah. Either way, there's an opportunity here for them to bring back this character who everyone was hyped for and probably had one of the most disappointing outings ever in Star Wars, where he got bumped on the back with a stick and flew into a pit early on in the movie.
What a way to go. I mean, it sounds really pathetic if that did indeed kill him, but obviously it didn't kill him. You know, it probably is just like, he's a bounty hunter. He probably gets thrown into pits all the time on accident or on purpose. So this is just like another Tuesday for Boba Fett. He just went on and did a bunch of other things. He's like, I'm tired of this bounty. I don't want to deal with Jedis anymore. I'm going to do something else right now.
The only way that they could possibly dash our host with this is to make it a flashback.
I suppose it's a possibility, but I think it's pretty cool that they're casting the guy who played Jango Fett.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know the chronological timeline perfectly, but it seems like age-wise, you know, I think that all kind of makes sense. You know, like if it's so weird because it's like he was Jango, but his son, they're not going to get the same actor that played the son. That doesn't make any sense. So I guess just replace the actor. They look similar anyway.
Well,
but it seems like you're going to see his face at some point in time, right? If they had to tell you who's playing him,
they could just use his voice under it. I mean, they could bring his voice back, knowing that they just said he's playing it. They don't necessarily say he's going to be.
Have the courage to cast the guy with the mustache that just wore the armor, and you can see the behind the scenes photos on, I think it's Jedi, where he has the helmet off and he just has this 70s mustache and he's wearing like little like librarian glasses. It's great. Bring that guy back. That would be so funny.
Yeah, I don't think he's around to do that. But also there's a rumor here that that Morrison will be coming back to play one of the clone troopers, Rex, who appeared in Star Wars Rebels.
Okay.
So he could be playing dual roles, one unhelmeted, an old trooper who would show up with Ahsoka and Sabine, but also, you know, a Boba Fett possibly voiceover, hopefully in person, if you would. So I think that's cool. I think that's a really cool throwback. I think, you know, even if it is a flashback, so what? They find a way to bring Boba. I mean, Mandalorian's been good. I don't think they're gonna, you know, mess it up from here with like I said, Dave Filoni. involved on literally every production. So, thoughts? Anything else on that? You cool with it?
Yeah, I'm cool with it, man.
He's cool with it. Speaking of Star Wars, one of the directors of one of the first season Mandalorian episodes, Taika Waititi, who also voiced IG-11.
80. Yeah, 80. Yeah, 11. 88 was the original one.
Will direct his own Star Wars film. Woo!
Wow. This was some news. This hit all of my feeds very hard for about a half a day until I'm sure some sort of terrible 2020 news cropped up and pushed it out of my feeds. But this is very interesting. It seems like he's definitely not going to have any time to go back to Akira anytime soon. So R.I.P. Akira,
Congrats.
or maybe congrats Akira. You're not going to get turned into a Western live action film, and maybe that's good for you in the long run. But I mean, Taika Waititi is great. He obviously has proved himself well before he directed anything on The Mandalorian, but it seems like he can play well within the Star Wars universe, because I think some people, if they see Taika Waititi, they know his sense of humor, so they always just try to attach his sense of humor to whatever IP he's working on, which put a lot of question marks over people's head when he was going to do Akira. So this seems to be maybe a little bit more up his kind of alley, or his lane, if you will.
Well,
I was
gonna say, well, in that regard, he did do the last episode of The Mandalorian, which I think is one of the most emotional, impacting ones all around.
Yeah, we got to see his robot melt in front of our very eyes.
Yeah, which from and you know, watching it from the Mandalorian's aspect, who hates robots but happened to like, okay, maybe this one's not too bad, even though you were gonna kill this baby earlier in the series. I think he is known for his comedy. He is known for this, which I think you were gonna say is good. But you know, he is known for doing, you know, non I guess on the nose funny stuff as well. With that.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a blanket statement. It doesn't matter who's directing a Star Wars film moving forward. I just want there to be a unified, like, Filoni-esque Kevin Feige vision moving forward. Put whatever director you want on a Star Wars movie, but if it's going to turn into an overarching story that spans more than one movie, I just want somebody to know where it's going. No more J.J. Abrams throwing in a mystery with no answer and just leaving it up to the next director to figure it out, and then not even knowing where it's going when he picks it back up. Just anybody, any producer out there, anybody that just has a vision that knows where it's going will just make me happy. But if it ends up this just is going to be Star Wars moving forward, just possibly one-off movies, that's fine. Even less for me to worry about. But yeah, this is not bad news in any way. This is really exciting news.
Yeah, exactly. And he will be co-writing it with Krysty Wilson-Cairns, who did the movie 1917, which people really enjoyed last year. So with her experience in war films, do you think this will be a type of war film? Or like, what do you think he would be telling here? I don't think it's going to be within the main Star Wars universe. It could be, you know, I don't know. There could be something else.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest takeaway I had from the brief stint of Star Wars story films was my favorite thing about Rogue One was seeing what it's like to actually be in a Star War. Yeah. What is the real what is actually war? So if anybody wants to pick that story thread up and move it forward, I'm okay. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with that.
Her also other project was working with Edgar Wright on his next movie, The Last Night in Soho. Which is a psychological horror film. So I think this lady has some variety in her chops here a little bit. So it could be interesting. Yeah. She also, I just did a quick search. I forgot she did. She was a staff writer on Penny Dreadful. The shows.
I mean, sounds like she's got chops, like you said. So no complaints there. Yeah. But also when it comes to feature films, usually the writer doesn't really have that much power at the end of the day. So I mean, as long as it's good news, that's great. But even if it was a bad writer, I wouldn't worry about it too much, really.
Well, if she's co-writing it with the director, I think there's a little more basis to that, though. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, what he's got is he's like, oh, I worked with the writer on this. We both wrote this together. We know what it needs to look like and be. More so than I'm taking the script from somebody I've never even talked to and be like, all right, here's now how I interpret this.
Yeah. As long as I don't see Goyer's name anywhere on this stuff, I'll be happy.
I don't think he does Star Wars. Also, keep Snyder
good.
Zack Snyder. I'd let Patty Jenkins come near it. That'd be the only one.
Yeah, for sure.
Darth Vader is also no longer the franchise's top character. In case you didn't know this,
No, I did. I didn't know there was polls. So.
Yeah, they base it on the number of Google searches, like for a character.
Okay.
Whatever. Baby Yoda, of course, took the number 1 spot.
Who doesn't?
And the Mandalorian took second this year.
Yeah, I mean the hottest ticket in town right now, and you got to have Disney Plus to see it. So I'm not surprised that there's been they kind of have already announced the season 3. We're already getting rumors of all of these things happening. So this is all great.
Well, I think it comes down to what you said before the show started. Like, what does Darth Vader bring to the Star Wars mythos anymore? Nothing. They've beat that to death, literally and metaphorically. So they need something new, and honestly, they tapped into these 2 new characters who literally took off in a new direction. What Star Wars can do. So
we need a new villain. It seems like they have their new kind of anti-heroes or their new heroes and babies, but we need a new Vader. We need somebody mysterious, somebody who's all powerful, somebody that's actually scary, like somebody who, if you think you put your hero in front of them, they don't stand a chance. I mean, Kylo Ren was a very complex character, but you knew you could always kind of get to him emotionally. He was never under that mask for very long to where you couldn't see the humanity. But with the original trilogy, Vader was just kind of like this unstoppable machine that you didn't really know exactly what was going on under that helmet until you finally saw it. And then it was like, whoa, this is crazy. So yeah, I mean, we kind of thought maybe Snoke might be that for a brief moment, but that didn't end up happening. So I would love to see just an all-present, just creepy person that's not Vader and not the Emperor. Invent somebody new to terrify me in the Star Wars universe.
If they're doing a trilogy based on the Old Republic, there's an opportunity to do so. An overarching character, right? If they do single-off movies, we're gonna have to see how they approach those. I think for what was it? Solo, I enjoyed. I can't think of his name. Paul Bettany.
Oh God, I don't even remember who the villain in Solo was.
It was Paul Bettany, because he got angrier and then his face started cracking open or something like that.
Oh yeah, didn't he have knives or something? What was his gimmick? I don't remember.
I mean, he was just a gangster, really, and whatever his species was, he got lines on his face that looked like scars every time he got angry. But I mean, I think he was starting, because you didn't know what he could do. Again, what was his game? What happened when he got too angry? Did he have some sort of ability or power? But there's opportunity for those one-off characters. They don't have to kill them necessarily, but they don't have to franchise every movie into 3 or 4, hopefully. Lastly, a fun fact for the Dengar fan, I said to people. The one guy who likes Dengar from the original Bounty Hunters from episode 5, I believe, and maybe 6. He apparently robotized himself and became a character that was in The Rise of Skywalker. So that was a fun little throwback.
Yeah, I think maybe I saw this Easter egg pop up maybe last year when the movie was out, but obviously I forgot. But I remembered, it's the bounty hunter that has the weird kind of diaper or gauze all over his head. It's not like a traditional Middle Eastern headdress or anything like that. It's just these weird towels wrapped around his head. And the only reason I remember it so well is when I was younger, I inherited a lot of original Star Wars toys from an older cousin. And don't get too crazy, these are all out of the box. Nobody wants them anymore anyway. But I had this little action figure of this random one-off bounty hunter, and I was like, who the hell is this guy? I don't care who this is. I'm just gonna throw him and have Luke come in and just beat his ass. So
well, Dengar has a history. Han Solo hit him with a blaster or fire from a speeder, and dented his head caved in, so he wears a turban to hide the robotic implants he has in his head. That's why he wears it. There's a history for all this stuff. But I don't know how much of that still stays in the current universe. But it's just a fun little throwback, and boy does he look weird. Boy does this guy look weird. So that's fun. Star Wars games we were talking about at the top of the show, and one that has been out for about a year now, a little over a year. Vader Immortal, the VR series, is making this transition from Oculus to PlayStation VR this summer.
Hey,
and they did this game episodically originally, so they compiled them all together, and we had the trailer for the full series here. And what I didn't know, I mean, I knew you get to play as Vader, then you could play as obviously as his fake apprentice that they do in every Star Wars game, pretty much. But also they have the lightsaber, I guess, gallery, where you get they have 3D models of every person's lightsabers, and you get to use them and play with them in the game as well. So
yeah, this concept of VR, I would say, is overlooked and underrated, whereas just exploring 3D models of anything, because you can look up high-res photos all you want of like lightsabers or props, but being able to kind of physically see it in space is really unique. So I would love to see this idea just branch out. Like, don't even worry about hiring programmers or somebody to create an interactive game, if you will. Just give me all of the 3D elements you've created for your entire franchise, no matter what it is, and just let me look at it in VR. I think that would be so cool. At the top of the show, before we started recording, I was telling you that we have been rewatching the Harry Potter franchise, and like every episode, I look over to my wife and I tell her, wouldn't it be so cool just to be able to walk through like Hogwarts? Like, it doesn't have to be like a video game. It doesn't even have to be like real life. You just kind of want to see the stuff, experience the scale. So like it'd be so cool just to do like a virtual walkthrough of Hogwarts, but obviously in like a highly polished render. Like I don't want to do like one of those like weird like 3D like tours where you have to jump from spot to spot. Like I actually like want to walk through like these environments, and I don't need interactive elements. I just want to wander. I think that'd be so cool.
Well, it reminds me of the Windows 95, 98, the point and click games where you get to like Disney World had one.
Oh yeah, or like Myst or something like that.
and I know those are still kind of, you teleport to a new area because they have to like back then they didn't have the render things. It was like a static screen with movements. But like it's like those, and people had fun with those. Like you didn't have to do a bunch of things, but like there's little hidden secrets and things you just kind of stumble upon that are there that you don't need. Again, gameplay. You don't need your guns and stuff like that. But like I'm looking forward to this because you get to see everyone's lightsabers in their hilts, and then you get to turn them on and then play with them, and I'm like, okay, this could be pretty fun. I'm excited for this.
Did you catch that very ornate hilt that was in the trailer? I don't know what it was. It almost looked like it was made of like bent iron or something like that.
Yeah, that's part of the story mode. So that's the one you find. I think it's like a legacy kind of lightsaber that he sends you to find. So
lightsabers are cool, man.
Yep, and you get force push people and robots in this mode, it looks like, and stormtroopers, and I always enjoy reflecting blaster bolts back at them. Like I'm like, oh, that's gonna be fun to figure that out. So I'm excited for this game to hit PlayStation VR. I know it's been out for a while, but I'm excited for that because we have that, and that's easy to add on to now. San Diego Comic-Con put out in good humor. It seems like that Comic-Con at home will be happening later this year, where they move Comic-Con to a digital thing, where they say it is coming soon with free parking, comfy chairs, personalized snacks, no lines, pets welcome, badges for all, and a front row seat. Which, I wish I would have had those last year, because I suffered through all of that.
Yes, you did.
But there's not many details on this yet. People were asking, will there be a price for this? Will they charge? Because they assume they have to pay their talent to be there, right? Like panels. Will there be exclusives? Like people who come, maybe you get mailed something later or access to something different with your login. I don't know. What would you want to see out of a Comic-Con at home, Mike? That maybe.
Well, obviously, everybody wants to see the thing that's not going to happen. They want to see the Marvel exclusive release that's always like a super long line for Hall H that sometimes is literally impossible to get in, as you might know. But I feel like that's just not going to happen. And if they did, they would simultaneously release that stuff on YouTube anyway, because there's no way to control people recording that. Yeah. But what I'd really like to see is I'd love to see some of the smaller stuff, some of the little panels that really people aren't there to make money. They're just kind of there to make connections or just for the love of their craft. So I'd love to maybe see like a bunch of like just a page with a bunch of like Zoom links where like I click this and I can go see this comic book artist talk about how he likes to use Photoshop, or I can go to this one and I can see these these veterans in the industry just kind of talk about how they made it and what they like to do in their free time. Just the small stuff would be great. I kind of got a little bit of that experience the other week where Netflix's animation studio did this really cool Zoom series where you could sign up for it for free, and they would just email you the Zoom link, and you could just kind of call into these Zoom chats, and you could just see basically what was a Comic-Con panel. There was the last one. It was like a whole week thing. There was like 2 a day, and the last one of the week brought in all of these like really popular creators, where they brought in the creator of Gravity Falls, this animation legend by the name of James Baxter was there. All of these really iconic creators were just all sitting down and just chatting, and it's like, this is very achievable to do with the Comic-Con branding if you want to. So I would recommend that they kind of reach out to any and all panelists that were originally wanting to be at Comic-Con this year and just say like, hey, you want to do something with Zoom? Just throw our little logo in the corner if that's something that Zoom can do, and I think that'd be pretty cool.
I think Zoom's a fucking terrible platform, and
it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to be Zoom, but you know what I'm talking about.
I would just rather. I'd rather just go into a virtual account and watch them. But like, here's the thing: do you have to choose between panels and then go back and watch the other ones on demand, kind of thing, or would you rather them just be like, one day, one stream, one thing? This is what we're offering. Because Comic-Con, that's part of it. You have to pick and choose what you're doing those days.
That could be a possibility. It just depends on the availability of everybody. And it seems like everybody's very available right now, depending on what industry that they work in. But it sounds like anything's going to be better than nothing. It's just it'll be nice to take a little break, because Comic-Con is great, but sometimes it can be physically draining. So I'm going to be all geared up and ready to go in 2021, having this year break. I'll have the highest Comic-Con appetite I've ever had.
Okay. Yeah, that's it's going to be interesting. I don't know what I want from it, but I know that, even though there may be a cost, I'd probably pay to jump on this, to be honest. So hopefully they say badges for all means that you can pay, and then maybe you get something out of it. I don't know. So
who knows?
Mail us something later. New Mutants. This was a funny thing that went up this week. Amazon mistakenly puts the listing on their VOD to purchase earlier this week, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's skipping theaters." But as we said, and it has since been changed, that this was probably just an automated thing saying, "Hey, this is when this was supposed to come out on demand. We forgot to turn it off. Whoops."
Yeah, I think if you're just looking for the most logical explanation, that is the most logical. But I don't think it's out of bounds that possibly New Mutants could be hitting digital. We talked at length about Trolls the other week. Who knows what contracts are keeping New Mutants from coming out right now. But it's highly possible if everybody who's involved that has a financial stake in New Mutants, wants to roll the dice. I suppose contracts could be changed, but I'm down for this. I just need this movie out. I'd love to watch it. I'm very curious more than anything else about this film, like I say every week. So if this wants to come out digitally, just put it out already.
Yeah, I think it was one of those things. Again, even I think Amazon said like it was an automated thing. Like, you can't buy this. Like, sorry, then they even took it down or put some new words on it. But like, what's gonna happen? Why is it not on a schedule? What's the hold up here? And how do they work it out? Because that's gonna bring me literally to my next point here, Mike. Trolls World Tour is now causing problems because of its success.
Whoever would have thought the sequel to Trolls World Tour would be wreaking havoc.
First, it broke AMC and Regal to the point they're like, we're not showing Universal movies anymore. I'm like, well, okay, that's stupid. But right now, the cast of the film were not informed of its non-theatrical release, which it was a last-minute thing, right? Fine, they could definitely change. But however, their bonuses and compensations are tied literally to box office performance. So, and they're supposed to kick in $350 million at the global box office, which this movie easily, I think, would have made. But now like, they're still the theater saying no, this movie is still in the red at this point because it doesn't have box office numbers.
Gosh, the oldest Hollywood trick, which is like insanely infuriating. There's so many examples out there of where somebody would say, "Oh, you remember that insanely successful movie that made headlines for not only being financially successful but critically successful. Like, oh yeah, that movie, I remember. Well, the studio says it didn't make any money, and it's just like, no, that's not possible. Like, you can go online and it hit records at the box office. It's like, no, they pushed some numbers around. They made it look like it hit the red so they don't have to pay anybody. It's incredibly shitty, and I'm surprised more studios don't get sued over this. And I think they do get sued over it. I think kind of the math that they're working at here is, yeah, we'll pay up, but we want you to at least put in there'll at least be a handful of people that maybe can't afford lawyers or don't want to go through with the tedium of the process, and we'll just end up saving some percentage anyway. So yeah, there's some shitty executive somewhere always trying to cook the books. So hopefully people that are supposed to be getting their money will get it.
Right, and it's not like these people are necessarily hurting for money. You know, is Anna Kendrick, who is in everything right now, Justin Timberlake, but it's not always about the big name people. Like, I think this will cause a change in, like, for their agents, because again, Hollywood is extremely unionized. Like, right, the unions watch for these people and fight for them. So I think with the recent change in video on demand and a change in release structure, will have to be calculated into all this stuff going forward, and this will be a way to adapt to this. And honestly, I think New Mutants, again, we've talked about this, has some contracts in there that says we will only get paid if it hits these box office performance numbers, and we will not let you release it anywhere until it hits the box office.
And there's a lot of cases out there where some people involved with the film will take zero money, and they'll just kind of roll the dice on the gamble of if the film makes anything. And sometimes this is the way that films can get really high-end actors for really next to nothing. I think what's the most famous story out there? Was it Robert De Niro or who was it? Somebody in a Batman movie took the back end instead of just a one-time cash payment, and they've just been making buku bucks ever since the film came out.
I'm pretty sure Robert Downey Jr. did that for Iron Man 1 before he started getting...
Sorry, not Robert De Niro. I believe it's Jack Nicholson as the Joker. I think he took the back end deal, which worked out very, very well for him over his career, and because he was a big get back then, so they probably saved a lot of upfront cash doing that.
Right, and I think the most recent Joker is they took a lot of hit up front for back end cash so they could get their R-rated movie made.
And I think the entire financial structure of Blumhouse is the directors and actors just take a gamble at back end, and I don't think they get a whole lot of money at all just to star in the film. So yeah, there's going to be lots of lawyers sending out letters this week.
Well, exactly, but also again, union people rewriting those contracts, making exceptions for these rules, because if you break them and you don't pay, and they're like, well, no, the movie didn't make any money in the theater, so we don't have to pay you, but we're still saying it's the biggest, like, we literally put out a report saying it's our biggest money maker of the year. What do you do in that case? Like, you've already shot yourself in the foot. So people need to be covered for that, not just big name actors, but little name actors and people who do take those risks.
Yeah, I'm just so surprised that with analytics so available now, with everything being pushed through digital marketplaces, that just pay per stream hasn't been kind of folded into a lot of these contracts. Kind of like just when things are syndicated in television, you get like a royalty check. So I'm surprised they haven't done that with streams, kind of like Spotify does.
Well, as of right now, because of all this stuff, studios are not required to report VOD numbers for these, which is, I guess, is going to be something that has to change to make all this work. And there's going to be demands. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some sort of actor strike here before too long, in the middle of all this. So we'll keep you report on how things coming. But I think, again, this ties back to why does New Mutants not go straight to video on demand? Well, Disney or Fox and Disney probably have some really strong contracts that they're at least adhering to for this to make it work. So
gotta ask the lawyers.
Gotta ask for permission, not forgiveness in this situation. A little short clip from Stargirl hit the internet this week, showing the Injustice Society, which fights the Justice Society of America. And out of all the people here, the coolest one, I think, is the 10-foot tall Solomon Grundy character. We knew Solomon Grundy. I knew that was the only character that you were going to know as well. So I made sure he was in the title here.
Well, actually, now that I'm looking at the list, Sportsmaster is familiar. Well, because of the very, very strange villain, very old comic book invention there with Sportsmaster. But and actually, no, I guess it's just Brainwave, Wizard, and Icicle and Dragon King are the ones that I'm not familiar with.
Yeah,
Tigress, I guess. Sportsmaster and Solomon Grundy. So I'm about like 40-60%.
Yeah, so the Injustice Society, the villains of this, apparently 4 months ago took down the Justice Society America. It didn't feel like it was 4 months ago. It felt like it was a long time ago. But they showed the characters Brainwave and Tigress and Wizard and Sportsmaster all look pretty boring. Icicle looks like Iceman from the X-Men movies. And the Dragon King looks like Hooded Justice from Watchmen. So, they're cheaping on some of these costumes, but the Grundy and Icicle ones look pretty cool. So, I think I don't think I'm going to watch this show, but I think it's a fun little thing here to show Solomon Grundy making his TV debut in live action.
Yeah, good for him.
Good for him.
Born on a Monday, died on a Sunday.
On a Tuesday?
No, not Tuesday, Sunday.
Sunday. It rhymes, that's right. So, there's your little Stargirl stuff. National Treasure fans out there, I know you're listening. Jerry Bruckheimer, I don't know what he's doing out, but he says they're working on the National Treasure for streaming with Disney Plus, the TV show, with a younger cast, and also National Treasure 3 for the big screen.
All right, bring it on. This is one of those kind of like guilty pleasure movies where you're not exactly getting the strongest, most intriguing narrative and acting range you've ever seen in your life before, but it's just dumb fun. I wonder how this franchise kind of strikes people outside of the United States. But if you didn't know your world history, the United States isn't a very old country. We're kind of relatively new compared to the rest of humans. So we don't have a lot of really cool old mysteries in this country. Like the oldest stuff is still kind of relatively new, so we don't really have lots of kind of stuff hiding underground, or you'll read stories from like the Daily Mail where they're just like, oh, they had to repave a parking lot and they dug up like a knight in armor like that was in the middle of the parking lot. Like none of that's happening over here. So I feel like this was like the first time somebody kind of looked at the angle of U.S. history with like, oh, we can have cool fun mysteries over here as well. So I think that's the thing I like the most about the National Treasure franchise. So very excited to see a third film and a streaming series. I guess I think it's supposed to be like a remake. I think that's what the streaming series is. I think they're recasting.
No. They're actually supposed to. National Treasure 3 and the Disney Plus show are supposed to like not cross over per se, but coalesce together at the same time.
Okay.
Which would be interesting and cool. Because they've come a long way. The early 2000s when National Treasure came out. Which was fun. It was kind of like what was those Tom Hanks movies, Angels and Demons? It's like that, but more family friendly. We're finding secrets of like secret societies.
The Da Vinci Code.
Yeah. It's an American version of Da Vinci Code. I think that's fine. I mean, if Nicolas Cage has time outside of being Joe Exotic on the new TV show.
My gosh, that is crazy. We were never really going to talk about that on this show, but I think that is some solid casting there. Yeah. I still feel weird that everybody is so infatuated with this very flawed person that maybe we shouldn't be looking. I don't think anybody's looking up to Joe Exotic, but they're very fascinated by him. But I mean, if it's got to happen, Nick Cage is the way to go, baby.
Is he even acting at that point? I figured it's just natural.
I saw Thomas Lennon, who is well known from Reno 911. He put a little video up on his social media where he was Joe Exotic. I think he like put on some facial hair, put on a costume, and he does a very, very good Joe Exotic impersonation. So I suppose if you need a Joe Exotic for an SNL type of sketch, call Thomas Lennon. He's got a good one.
Everyone's trying to be Joe Exotic right now, but Nicolas Cage, he's the closest we'll ever get without the real thing. So National Treasure, there you go. Have you heard about this series on Disney Plus? People have tried to tell me, oh my gosh, there's a new Marvel show called Fury Files coming out, and I'm like, no.
I have no idea what this is.
I'm like, no, it's not a new Marvel Disney Plus show. It's actually kind of like a character profile show where they use motion comic art and scenes from the animated TV shows to give insights into these Marvel characters.
All right.
So they're compiling like, hey, did you know this about Thor? And it's a whole episode about Thor, and his powers and his history and stuff like that. But here's the synopsis: is it gives viewers top secret access to Shield intel on key Marvel heroes and villains. All is told by Nick Fury, which I don't think is Samuel L. Jackson's voice, is somebody else. So they're looking to download a bunch of information on every hero. So it's like a little highlight thing, like you'd watch on YouTube probably normally.
Yeah, I mean, I won't really knock the attempt to put more content out there, but yeah, like you just said, if you want this stuff already, it's there. It's on YouTube. Like tons of channels do wrap ups of characters, and I have to say most of the really popular ones do a very, very, very good job. Always very concise, and they kind of throw their own kind of fan opinion about the characters in there. So it seems like if you just want it for free and you want it now, just go to YouTube.
Yeah. This could also, I imagine this is very kid friendly. You just put it on for your kid to learn a lot about it. And, since they're not creating new content and we're unable to make some, this is probably thrown together very easily.
Yeah, it's really easy. You just type in, like, history of Silver Surfer. Like, the top 5 hits are going to tell you everything you need to know about Silver Surfer.
Yeah, exactly. Or, like, hey, here's some video clips. Do we own the rights to those? Throw them together. We're making a show.
Yeah. I like it when they bring in splash pages from the comics. I always think that's really cool, whether if it's a new one or an old one. Really give you context.
Yeah, I think this definitely has that. I didn't see it in the trailer per se, but I think this definitely has that. So because they mentioned motion comics specifically by name, so looking forward to that. An interesting report about WandaVision says that they have actually filmed the primary series in full. And it could still be on track to release this winter/December, and that the VFX may also be done as well.
Hey-o.
So they're just working on final editing. I think again, primary shootings, and they could still need minor reshoots. They always do. So that's good to know for it, right?
Yeah, I hope all of these actors that are stuck at home have green screens, or maybe they're about to be sent their way, and they're like, okay, this is what you're going to do. Just put your iPhone, just lean it up against a candle, and just stand in front of this screen. We'll put all these filters on it. We'll try to make it look special. We really just kind of need your emotion reference, so maybe that'll end up being the reshoots.
Oh, I don't think so. I think as quickly as Marvel turns around, they can film them in November and have them done by December for streaming. They're not sending this out to movie theaters, thankfully. They're just copying it over to an FTP server, pretty much. But I think that's interesting. I think again, from someone I talked to who worked on these are all built on WandaVision's all built on sound stages, so they could definitely 100% have these done easily and not worry about it. And VFX can be done remotely, so go download that plugin that lets you be WandaVision. My keyboard and mouse are actually set to Scarlet Witch right now. They're glowing red back and forth.
Hey-o.
Another rumor of Nova making his way to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Some point in time, right?
Yeah, so there's there was probably, I kid you not, a dozen new rumored Marvel projects in work right now from sources. And I'm like, I'm not putting them all in here because they're all rumored. But Nova sticks out simply because we've heard it for so long, and there was a great opportunity for them after Endgame or Infinity War to say, hey, the Nova Corps were whittled down to one person, or whittled away. Maybe the one person left is in fact Richard Rider, which is how the Nova series worked for a while. So this could be a movie or TV show. It could also maybe not focus on Richard Rider, but the younger version, Sam something, who was in the Spider-Man cartoon and some other New Warriors stuff. So
yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for Nova. I like either of those ideas. I think the benefit that you get from skewing younger is right now really, what is it? Just Spider-Man is showing the perspective of what it's like to be a hero at a younger age. I wouldn't mind maybe seeing some more of those stories outside of the TV landscape. Like I know like Cloak and Dagger and Runaways have kind of done it, but on a bigger scale, I know we're getting Miss Marvel, which is cool. So, and also this could lead into maybe a young Avengers if we're kind of leading that direction. So that would be rad. But also, since you were talking in general more about all of these TV shows, from what I've been hearing is I don't think necessarily somebody at Marvel is sitting down and saying, I want to make Nova. Let's move forward with Nova. I think they just kind of reach out to creatives that they like and just ask them to pitch. Like, pitch whatever you want. Here's a list of characters. Pick one that you'd be interested in. So maybe it's just coming down to we just need a creative that has some sort of connection to Nova, and then they pitch Nova to Disney. So if that's happening right now, that's great.
I think it's also all these rumors are like, hey, we have a lot of downtime. We don't want to waste this downtime. Let's prep for future projects well ahead of time. So maybe someone is working on these characters and they are working on, but there's like, maybe they never follow up with it, but they're like, hey, like you said, pitch us what you want to do, the character you want and what that looks like, and we'll see if we can slot that into our schedule or
I mean,
workload.
Somebody must be pitching Ironheart every other month,
Jesus
because
Christ.
I swear we get that rumor every other month, and I don't see any more credence behind it this week, but it seems to be I'm seeing all the exact same graphics being shared on my Instagram Explorer feed that were shared 4 months ago when it popped up again. People just okay, I'm gonna Google Ironheart. Okay, that's what she looks like. I'm gonna click. I'm gonna put her picture right next to Robert Downey Jr. and publish rumors. So I'd like to see a little bit more credence before we talk about Ironheart anymore. But I guess
the other thing is, we are in a world where we do have to go look for the news, right? We have to really hunt for the news, and people are just making up news because they're like, well, what about this? And it's not really a rumor, and it's not really production. They're just like, well, what if they make an Ironheart movie? Or like when Boss Logic is like, here's what this would look like if they crossed over.
I mean, there's a good chance that Ironheart is going to be developed because eventually they're going to run out of characters. I mean, they have plenty of money. They got plenty of runway to keep making this stuff. So at some point in time, it's either you adapt Ironheart or you reboot Iron Man and you reboot the whole MCU. So they'll probably hit Ironheart first.
Yeah, I just, she's so new. I don't know if she has any relevance in the MCU as a whole. Whereas you could do, there's more characters that could take that place.
Well, I mean, the last time we brought up Ironheart, we talked about kind of like the biggest problem where like her kind of connection to Tony Stark has kind of already been given to Spider-Man, which I would think just historically more in the comic books, Spider-Man seems to be attached more to, I would say, Captain America. So the movies have kind of pivoted him more towards Tony Stark, so it's just like, well, where's Ironheart's way in? There's definitely room for a character like this, but like, what's her connection going to be to Tony Stark? It's got to be different than Peter, you know?
Right, exactly, and you just can't introduce another technically smart child who just happens to hack into Tony's stuff after he's dead, kind of thing.
That was my favorite part about Far From Home is they didn't have to introduce the idea of holograms and drones and how Mysterio could possibly control all of these things and do all the groundwork, because the MCU had kind of already put all of that technical, quote unquote mumbo jumbo out there and had explained it. I mean, even Peter is really, really smart, but he's not exactly making all of this high-end stuff. He basically cobbled together web shooters. He got those things going. So it's just like, well, how do you make like a child prodigy make a whole armor suit without her being just very neurotic and her personality just rubs everybody the wrong way? Because it seems like you'd have to be very, very narrow-minded genius to build like an iron suit,
Right. Well, and also the thing with Spider-Man is he just showed up one day and Tony's like, it was like, okay, I know who you are. Here's all my technology for you. He didn't even have an origin on how he made his stuff. He just kind of had to. He just inherited it right away. So
no more just unexplained smart characters, because at least with the advantage of Tony Stark when you meet him in Iron Man 1 is his father was really, really smart, and even if he was smart, he used it to profit off weapons, and weapons are very achievable to make in technology. We've been living in a world with missiles all of our life, so to kind of see him cobble together an iron suit, in a cave with a box of scraps is a little bit more believable. But if you're gonna throw a child at me who is just incredibly smart, at whatever age she's at, what is she like a teenager, like 14 or 15, I believe?
Same age as like Miles Morales and Kamala Khan. They're all the same age.
Yeah, if you're gonna put her in there, like there's got to be some sort of there's got to be some sort of disadvantage of being super smart. Either people don't like her, or like her family can't keep up with her, or she's got like relationship issues with normal people, because there's no way you can build all of this stuff just out of nowhere. They even stretch that to me when like Peter and either other adaptions of movies can just kind of put these things together. It's just like you got to explain childhood genius in some way,
Yeah, you don't want it to be her character to be too conveniently on par with this, because then you're just like, well, that seems really, really convenient.
But at the end of the day, I'd love to see him pull it off.
Yeah.
That would be very satisfying to see an armored suit back out into the world, no matter who's under it.
Yeah, exactly. And I typed New Warriors here. I meant Nova would be part of the Champions, which is what Ironheart's and Kamala Khan are part of as well. So it seems like every week we're going to get young heroes in Marvel, and I'm like, I don't see this happening.
Maybe they could bring Rhodes back in. Maybe Rhodes kind of comes across this girl who's like maybe she's like very, very smart, but doesn't really know kind of where to put her energy or where to put all of this talent that she has. So maybe Rhodes is just kind of like, maybe I'll just give her maybe just like a gauntlet or a boot that Tony used to have, and just like, hey, play around with this. Or maybe she steals it and she toys around with it and she starts to kind of understand it. So at least the concept of her building armor is at least seated in something. She doesn't build it out of nowhere, Well,
if you look at Iron Man 3, again, not the strongest movie, but the Harley Keener character could have, if Ironheart had been around in 2013, that's where she could have really thrived, is if he crashed and she fixes the suit for him, kind of thing. Like maybe that's something, Rhodey's suit's breaking and he can't fix it anymore. Yeah. Because that's all that lets him walk now is the suit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got to be an older version of the suit, right? I don't care how smart a child is. Like, I don't think anybody else on planet Earth can understand that nano suit like Tony Stark could, because it's just so complex. So it might be kind of fun because they'll be able to roll back the armor to kind of more of a practical pieces on a body.
Exactly. He could have had some old bunkers that he didn't, that haven't been blown up, that have those old armors in it.
Yeah, we saw how much like tech he had out in the world. Even just some of those rescue suits that kind of went out and kind of controlled the population. Yeah. Maybe some of those scraps are just laying around somewhere.
Mm-hmm. See, Ironheart, way more interesting than Nova at this point, but we'll get there. I'm going to talk about a series called Secret Warriors, and this is also rumored to be in early development for Marvel Studios. They are hunting for a writer. That's where this is right now. But there have been several iterations of Secret Warriors. One of the most recent ones was actually on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where they had Quake and Yo-Yo and a couple other characters. They were like 3 episodes deep, and then that was it for these Secret Warriors. The newest Disney XD series focuses on the young female heroes for Secret Warriors, like Squirrel Girl, Miss Marvel, Spider-Gwen, the animated one that they did for a while there. Then my favorite is actually the Jonathan Hickman written comic series. I have all of them behind me in hardback. It's where the character Quake was first introduced, Yo-Yo, the comic book versions of that, and they're like, Nick Fury has them doing literally secret missions while he's hiding from the government.
I think that's great. That all sounds awesome.
That would be great. However, I feel maybe does this Secret Warriors tie into the younger Nova, the Ironheart, the Miss Marvel thing? Is this what they're trying to pull together, more in line with the Disney XD series? But in our defense here, why they wouldn't be, Marvel likes to borrow names from very well-known comic series, Age of Ultron, and never followed the actual story the comic book did. So like Age of Ultron the movie is not Age of Ultron the comic book by a long shot. So it could just be borrowing the name for that, down the road.
Yeah, we all kind of assumed that when Captain America had well, I guess he was never in the raft, right? When he went back and he saved his crew from the raft, that he was out doing secret stuff that we really never got to see, but we could just imagine the cool secret stuff that he was doing. So, I would love to see superhero secret missions, maybe on a more sophisticated scale. Because like you said, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. pretty much was that, even outside of those 3 Secret Warriors seasons, it was very much under the radar doing missions. So maybe if we can get something a little bit more tied down to like an 8-episode streamer or a film, we might have a little bit more fun there.
Yeah, and this could also be possibly the name of maybe these Netflix shows when they coalesce, because none of them are actually, other than Wanda going to Doctor Strange movie, none of them should be in the movies anytime soon.
This is our Defenders reboot here.
Yeah, the one that worked, the Secret Warriors. Do you like the Spider-Man movies, Mike?
Oh, Chris, they're my favorite.
Okay, good. Because the IMAX has put their IMAX version specifically of Homecoming, Far From Home, and Into the Spider-Verse are now available to stream from IMAX in their IMAX format. However, there is a catch.
Yeah, I was going to say, Chris, what's with the ellipses in the show notes?
Yeah, because this is a pain in the fucking ass, to put it nicely. If you click on this link here I give you, Mike, it's going to take you IMAX Enhanced, right? Watch them now. Perfect. Home viewing with no limits, unless you only have exactly what they say you can watch it with.
Oh, no.
So you have to watch it on the specific Sony or TCL TVs or projectors, with the specific speaker setups and these AV receivers.
Oh, geez, come on.
And then watch them across these 5 specific retailers, which the only one I recognize is Fandango now. So I don't know how... there's nothing... This is a single landing page website, and I have no idea how to go about watching any of these.
What? I'm just more surprised that... so right next to Fandango, there's a thing called Rakuten TV. In our household, Rakuten is like a couponing extension for our browser where you can get like discounts when you shop like Macy's.com. What the hell is Rakuten TV? I've never heard of that.
Well, I mean, Rakuten is an online... It used to be shop.com or something like that, and then they switched over to Rakuten, and then they started doing... They're essentially like an online Walmart. They do everything.
Well, they're not available in my country according to their landing page right now, so...
Yeah, well, I went to... I mean, I'm literally sitting here on FandangoNow.com, look up Spider-Man Far From Home, and I'm like, how the hell do I watch the IMAX version?
Well, I am not here to condone piracy, but this has piracy screaming all over it, because people that pirate stuff are very, very nerdy. They're going to dive into the specifics. They're going to get those ones and zeros for you, Chris, and it'll be up on any of your day one torrent sites, I'm sure, within the week.
Well, I mean, apparently these are already up, and I've not seen them yet, but I would love the ability to watch... the IMAX resolution versions of some of these movies. Now, I understand IMAX wants to preserve their quality of an IMAX. Like, you know, they are the Apple of the movie-going experience, right? When you go to IMAX, they have to have specific setups to get it. But, like, I just want that extra resolution. I'm tired of losing frame. It's cut off, Mike. I don't like it.
Yeah. It seems like from a layman's point of view, basically the at-home experience would be when you're watching a movie, instead of seeing the black bars on the top and bottom of your TV, even though your TV's already widescreen, those black bars are basically going to disappear, and you're going to get a little extra movie. You're not going to be stretched to fill the whole frame. You're actually going to get those missing pieces that the black bars cover for IMAX.
Yeah. I'm just doing a little bit of a search here, Mike. I'm just doing some quick...
Chris is doing some investigation for you folks out there. He's going to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, I'm looking for the IMAX versions on some popular download sites, Mike, and Spider-Man is not here. But if you want to watch A Beautiful Planet, you can find it in here.
Okay, good to know.
I'm not very happy about some of these. There's apparently the Aquaman version, but like I don't like this. Seems very, very like the barrier to entry is very, very high. And you know, I don't like that, but I wish we could watch the IMAX versions of the Avengers games or the Avengers movies, because those...
Oh, that'd be great.
We talked about how they were shot with IMAX cameras, and now we're losing frames with black bars. So it's upsetting. However, I'm gonna brighten up your day, Mike, with our last...
Oh, no, you're not. No, you're not. Stop it right here.
Nope. With the movie Bright 2. Even Brighter is going to be the subtitle. You watch. Louis Leterrier, the director of The Incredible Hulk and some other movies, he will direct the Netflix sequel Bright 2, which apparently sets the film on an international stage rather than... Gosh.
Just like the very successful Men in Black International, I'm sure. I know I'm going to contradict myself to something I said at the top of the show, where usually I can look past, writers, because, usually the director overtakes it. But Bright 2, I just looked it up, is being written by David Ayer and co-written by a guy named Evan Stephanopoulos, I believe is his name. So I looked up his credits. He is responsible for Hercules, the one that came out in 2014 with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Oh, I forgot about that.
The newest 2019 Charlie's Angels, Snow White and the Huntsman, but I think this is just the Huntsman. It looks like he's got a lot of stuff under his belt, but not a lot of things that I am particularly excited to see. So I thought the first Bright movie was trash. I know some other people out there find some redeeming qualities from it, but wow, I do not want to watch this.
I got nothing to say about this. I don't know how a sequel. I know how a sequel happened. There was nothing better on Netflix that week, and then everybody watched it. The same way people watch, what was it? The third movie in the Cloverfield franchise, because they did the announcement, and it was just piss poor awful.
Cloverfield Paradox.
Yeah, and it was just piss poor awful.
So the only upside to Bright 2, and I'll give it this credit, is Max Landis is not attached to the sequel. And Max Landis has sole writing credit on the first Bright film, and Max Landis has been Me Too'd right out of Hollywood, rightfully so. So if he's not anywhere near this one, maybe this will be a jumping off point. You know, I have such a low opinion of the Bright franchise in general that really they have the only way that they have to go is up. And I can stream it for free because I'm already paying for Netflix, and I will probably be perpetually paying for Netflix the rest of my life. So if I have no barrier to entry to get back into the Bright franchise, I suppose they got a little bit going for them there.
Yeah, I mean, that's really about it. Maybe they'll take some feedback from the first one and apply it to this one.
Yes.
So we could see some benefits from there, possibly. But what's Will Smith done that's good lately?
Yes, sigh. Sigh is the appropriate response to Bright 2 news.
Exactly. Well, if that didn't brighten up your day, Mike, I don't know what bad joke will. So that's it for the week. I mean, I feel like we're missing something, but I don't know what it was. I went through all my notes twice, and I'm like, I feel like I'm missing something. So if it pops up, we'll talk about it next week, or someone will message me. One of those two things will happen, for sure. But if people want to know more about what we're doing, what we're up to, where can they find you at?
Well, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram and Twitter, and you can read my web comics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, see what you're doing in your life, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Valdan, Valdan, or Instagram, Valdan87, where I put up those lights and video show that Mike asked me to last week, which
that was rad, man.
People are responding pretty cool to that. So thank you for that. You also head over to Comic UI. If people want to know more about our episodes, our reviews, we're gonna have to start filling up these months, Mike. Where can they find those at?
Well, all you got to do is visit superheroslate.com when the website isn't hacked. We fixed that pretty quickly, though. We have full control now of all of our digital avenues, so no worries there. But you can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else you love to listen to fine podcasts like this. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and you can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. We had Superfan Jim reach out to me, let me know some of his drive-in movie stories back when he used to work at a drive-in theater, which I had no idea, so that was pretty cool. So if anybody has any more stories about going to drive-ins or working at drive-ins, he had a pretty funny anecdote where a friend of his spoiled a screening of The Perfect Storm for a whole audience, which I thought was pretty hilarious. A movie about a boat, is it going to sink or isn't going to sink? And that was spoiled for the whole audience, so I thought that was pretty funny. So we love hearing from you, so please reach out with any funny anecdotes that we might like to talk about on the show. We love that. And also, we love our super fans, so if you want to be a super fan of this show, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and to continue to show social distance so you don't get anyone sick.
Yes, wash those hands, as we say. That's how you become a super fan. Wash them, keep them clean.
Yeah.
And we'll see you guys next week.
All right, bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
My clickety-clackety keyboard. Clickety-clacking all day long.
And my creakety chair. Here, let me creak it. Let me get some creak.